but I did see the review in your blog, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that might be, I looked at it a little bit at your website, but I don't know a lot about it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, we're pretty new. We kind of just started a handful of months ago, but we've been doing a lot of. We've been getting a lot of people. We just did a Leela.
Leela Sear?
Yes, there you go, Leela Sear. Yeah.
She's a friend of mine. We're actually from the same hometown.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's why I was going to ask you if you had known her, because I know she was from Michigan as well, from the same area.
From Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Wisconsin.
No, it's okay. I went to college in Michigan. Everybody thinks I'm from Michigan, but
okay.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. So kind of an unlikely place to have to produce two jazz singers. Although we had a teacher in common, so I think she's the reason.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what was the teacher?
Her name is Christine Salerno. She's a pianist and vocalist. She's really great, and
I think she actually mentioned her.
Yeah, she was, very important in my life.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bunch of questions, as I'm sure most people do for an interview.
Yeah. Great.
So when did you decide to be a jazz vocalist?
Let's see. I think it was when I was 16 or 17. I had been studying jazz, voice and piano for several years, and classical piano before that. And I knew I wanted to be a singer from a young age, and I thought I wanted to be a pop singer. And then the first time that I saw a known jazz singer live, was Diane Reeves, and that was when I was 16 or 17, and I saw her. She walked on stage and she was singing her introduction, the band was vamping, and she was just improvising her hellos to the audience, and it was just gorgeous. She has the most amazing voice, and it was sort of that moment I realized this is what I want to do. This is it.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
yeah. Right. Yeah, actually, I heard that on the other interview you had.
Mm-hmm. I said that probably. Yeah, it's really important moment. So that was that moment. Yeah, and I had wanted to go to college for music for sure, and at the time I kind of understood that you just go for classical or jazz, and I really was just I guess I'll go for jazz. I've been studying jazz in high school, and then I really fell in love with it.
Right.
Then and then I kept going to school. It was this is really what I love. So.
Yeah. So did you? I also see that you studied classical as well in college for your undergrad.
Yeah, well, I studied it as part of my program. I had to.
Okay.
All the singers had to get into the program as a classical singer, even if they wanted to study jazz. So I studied classical voice for 2 years while I was also studying jazz. But my major was in jazz. Yeah.
Right. Did you? Did you have an appreciation for any classical beforehand?
Classical piano. Yeah, but I hadn't really been into opera at all. It was just kind of something I was thrown into. But I'm very grateful for that training. It's really important for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Were there any artists in particular that you really were geared towards?
Like in opera?
Yeah, within the classical realm.
Oh, I don't know. Not as much, but growing up, I played Bach preludes and fugues, and I played Chopin nocturnes and that kind of stuff. So I loved doing that, and that was very important to my development. And I love Debussy and Ravel and Shostakovich, classical composers, but not really singers. I'm not really an opera person.
Okay.
So I have a lot of respect. But.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I wasn't. I originally started off as classical as well, and then eventually moved to jazz once I got into college.
Cool. Oh, okay. That's cool. Voice or what? What's your instrument?
Piano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can relate.
Oh yeah. Gotta love the Chopin.
Okay, sorry, you already said piano. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine.
No.
That's not about me. But I actually went to Berkeley.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. When did you start teaching there?
2011.
Oh, okay. So I actually graduated in 2010.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was a student at NEC until 2009, so 07 to 09.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions. What made you choose the NEC over Berkeley at the time?
Well, Berkeley doesn't have a graduate program.
Yes.
So, it wasn't
okay.
really an option. Yeah, I went there for grad school.
Yeah, they do now though, right?
They do, but not in all majors.
Oh, okay.
Mostly the probably production stuff. They have the master's degree. Oh, they also have the Global Jazz Institute. That's true, which did not exist at the time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's.
Although I did get to study with Danilo Perez at NEC, and he's the one that left and started the Global Jazz Institute at Berkeley. So at least I got to work with him a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
yeah, it was awesome. He's great.
Yeah. Did you ever? What about Dave Holland? I know he's teaching there. Was he? You ever taking any classes with him?
He was there once a semester doing residencies at the time. I don't know if he's there more often now. But yeah, I got to do a concert with him he didn't play with us, but he conducted our ensemble and chose the music, and it was cool. Yeah, Dave is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. Very cool. So it's on your bio it mentioned that you had recorded you were on the album, the tribute album, for Kind of Blue with Jimmy Cobb, right? And that was the same, yeah. And that was the same year that you decided to go for your master's. Which one came first?
I don't remember. Probably deciding to get my master's. Yeah, I think we recorded that in the spring, so it was after I'd applied. Yeah, so, that was cool. Meeting Jimmy Cobb.
Yeah. How did that come about?
There was the pianist that put the whole project together was local, and he just decided to hire Jimmy Cobb for this album. And we were the singers on the album. It's a vocal ensemble thing on the album. We were students at Western Michigan together, and our program there is really known for vocal ensemble stuff. So we did that, and
yeah,
it was really interesting experience meeting Jimmy Cobb.
Right.
I picked him up from the airport in my car. Jimmy Cobb rode in my car.
Yeah, that's some pretty personal service right there. Top-notch service.
Yeah. Don't put that in the interview.
No. But that's really cool. What made you think that you still even needed to get the master's after an experience like that?
Oh, well, well, it's not that that shot me to jazz stardom or anything. No, I was on a journey, that I definitely felt was not over in terms of my education.
Yeah.
And I'm from the Midwest, like I said. Obviously, I'm from Wisconsin, and I was just in Michigan, so I kind of felt like I wanted to get out into the world and spread my wings, meet more people, and I'm so glad I did, because that move to Boston really opened everything up for me in life and helped me understand the path that I wanted to take.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty musical town.
Yeah, it's a very musical town. And I should mention, the reason that I chose to apply to NEC, actually NEC was the only place I applied, and it was because a mentor and friend of mine, Fred Hirsch, who also did semester visits at Western, I guess not also, but he was another, guest artist that I had contact with. He told me that I should go to NEC. He was like, don't even think about anything else, just go to NEC. And so I took his advice.
Yeah.
I applied at one place, and I was like, if I don't get in, then I guess I'll stay in Michigan. I don't know. So,
that's pretty funny. Yeah, and I mean, I was looking up Fred. He actually owns his own company, right?
Yeah, he has a record label. Yeah.
A record label. There was another. Were there other companies?
Publishing company. Sorry, a publishing company. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think the record label still exists. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I found that pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
15 Grammy nominations, I think. Yeah.
Yes, the 2 Grammy. What were those for? Which albums?
Actually, it's 15 Grammy nominations.
Oh,
so
wow.
I can't name all of them, but
yeah.
almost every year in the past 15 years. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So what got you into Brazilian music?
It was actually that same teacher in high school, Chris Salerno. She is expert in that genre, and she performs it a lot. And she kind of just decided to start assigning me Brazilian tunes, and I was just didn't know anything about it, and I was like, sure, why not? You know.
Yeah.
She got me translating Portuguese and learning bossa novas, and when I was 15, 16, and so that's how I got into it, and then I just kind of ran with it. You know, they make you study that, as you know, like in jazz school, you have to do some Brazilian stuff, but it was something that I really, really enjoyed, so I did more than was asked. It kind of became like a side hobby or something, part of what I was doing, and I started a Brazilian project recently with this awesome flute player in New York named Elsa Nielsen. And we're supposed to have a gig coming up and a recording, but that's not going to happen right now.
Yeah. And who's that with?
Her name is Elsa Nielsen.
Elsa Nielsen, okay.
Yeah, she actually just came out with a new album herself, and she's an incredible flute player, like just virtuosic, amazing improviser.
Yeah. We'll have to check her out. So, would you say were there any Brazilian vocalists in particular that you were a particular fan of?
Yeah, Luciana Souza was one of the first ones that I got into. She also came and visited my undergrad. She's an incredible singer and composer, and she also studied with Dominique Eade, who was my teacher at NEC.
Yeah.
So she's a really important one to me, and also, of course, like Elis Regina. And
Regina what?
Elis Regina.
Oh, okay, Elis.
That's what I'm gonna see.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luciana Souza, Elis Regina. The pianist, he's a singer too, Egberto Gismonti, who composed one of the songs on my record. He's also a favorite of mine.
Yeah. What about Ginga?
Oh yeah, definitely Ginga. Did Leela talk about Ginga too? She has one of his tunes.
Yes. We spoke about the Di Chavado tune that she did. I mean, that's a dizzying song right there.
yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, Ginga, I went to, actually, maybe she talked about this, there's a Brazilian workshop that happens every year in California where they bring over a bunch of amazing Brazilian artists, and Ginga was among them when I went. Got to meet him and work with him a little bit.
Oh, that's all right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's really amazing. What's he like?
He is like the most, he's very intense, but like very, very calm. And his class was like sitting outside in a grove and like playing the same song like for like 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was like, but I think in a really good way, like getting you to understand it. It didn't feel like too many times to play the song. It was like,
Yeah.
It was very in the moment, very, I don't know, stream of consciousness, but also like very focused. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So what drew you to wordless singing as a vocal technique?
So that was kind of always part of my life because I don't know if you read anywhere. My uncle was Lyle Mays.
Yes, I was going to get to that.
Yeah. So he recently passed away.
Yes.
So I grew up listening to his music, and the Pat Metheny group, which he co-founded with Pat and co-composed and arranged most of the music, features a lot of wordless vocal singing. So I think it might have come from that, just because my parents played that around the house all the time. So, from the time I was born. So I don't know if that's kind of where I picked it up, but when I started playing piano, I just started singing everything that I was assigned to play. Like, when I was 7, I just sang everything, no matter what it was, and I thought that was just the most normal thing in the world, but apparently it was unusual. My teacher would be like, "Oh, I really like how you sing all the stuff that you play." I'm just like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So that's where it started. And when I got more advanced and was doing like those Bach preludes and fugues and stuff, I still kept, trying to sing that stuff, no matter how complicated it got. So it kind of just went hand in hand with the piano study. I just always was singing along. So now it just feels, it's just the most natural thing,
Yeah. I guess that makes sense, especially if you grew up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I also love the challenge. I've always wanted to, I don't like the idea that singers are limited to vocal music. I just think I could try to sing anything and, see what's possible.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like the most versatile instrument I could think of. One of them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. Were there other groups that you were listening to at the time when you were younger that also employed that wordless voicing technique?
I think no.
Okay.
Yeah, because besides the Pat Metheny group, it was really mostly pop. I got super into pop music when I was 4th or 5th grade. I got really into Mariah Carey. I was like, yes, I want to be a pop star. And so I got kind of obsessed with the pop singers of that time and trying to sing like them. So those were big early influences too.
Right.
Like Whitney Houston and Celine Dion.
Yeah.
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears. All right.
Oh, yeah. I studied them all.
Yeah, definitely. Was there... Oh, I had a question on here, actually, that I was going to get to later, but now that we're talking about it, what would you say... obviously, the pop scene in the U.S. is way different than it is... Or what tends to be popular over here in the U.S. is different than in the U.S. I'm not sure. Do you have you had any touring experience in Europe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about what's the difference between your audiences when you're over there compared to here?
I think, let's see. I think the audiences in both places are equally enthusiastic and into what we're doing. I think the difference is that Europe has more funding for music, and they perhaps value jazz more. I don't know, not as a society, but I just know friends that I have in different countries, they get a grant from the government to make their new record, or there's a label that they're associated with that pays for everything, and that's just a little more rare here.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would say the audiences, the love I feel when I'm on stage is it's definitely equivalent. It's just maybe there's more opportunities in Europe.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Spyro Gyra?
Yeah.
the old group. So I actually just did an interview with the leader, Jay, the saxophonist, a couple weeks ago.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, and I asked him this exact question, and he's been playing. He's been playing for a long time. I think he's definitely older. But he claimed he thought a lot of it had to do with the fact that Europe maintained more of a private radio, like a public radio tradition, like an NPR.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that would play jazz a lot later, a lot even into the 70s and 80s, just on the radio that people were just more accustomed to hearing it, so it just maintained its popularity.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so weird, Oh, how do you feel about the pop industry today?
The pop industry. I guess I don't have a lot of experience in that area.
Right.
Since I don't really do that, but yeah, I mean the music itself has changed a lot, since the 90s when I was really into it. But yeah, the industry. I mean, yeah, I'm not really in touch with it.
Yeah, but I mean, like artists that are coming out today, would you say they're of the same caliber as the like Whitney Houston's and Celine Dion's of the past?
Some of them certainly are. Yeah, like I mean, Ariana Grande, that's an incredible voice.
Yeah, incredible I agree with talent.
That. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely still like these powerhouse singers. Maybe the songwriting isn't as I don't know, complex.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, just go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. You go on.
Actually, I'm not sure what I was going to say. It's fine.
Okay. So when it comes to the pop realm, I mean, certainly you just mentioned the songwriting is not as complex. Why do you think jazz, the audience is just so much smaller, and at the same time we're still seeing pop seemingly get just more and more simplified? Like, where did it change, like, culturally?
Well, it's a big question. Well, I mean, I think one can make the case that the development is coinciding with our decrease in attention span. I think that is definitely true, because we're so preoccupied with our devices and, these short little bits of information we're always receiving, like via text and comments and Twitter. And, I think of Twitter as like the short form, but everything is short form kind of now. Emails have gotten shorter, people don't read books as much, all of that. So I think, yeah, the attention span is shorter. And also there's so much to grab our attention that, like, if something doesn't catch you in a few seconds, you might move on. And I think that's part of probably why music has changed, because it kind of needs to grab you right away. So you don't have time for a long introduction, that leads to a development. You just have to get right into it. And then if it's too complicated, like, someone might tune out after a minute or something.
Yeah. Well, I
kind of a negative outlook on it, but I think maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it now. I mean, I have a lot of childhood friends that I will meet a handful of times throughout the year, and they don't listen to jazz, and if I play it, they all call it elevator music.
Oh no! Oh, right. That's sad.
Right, but I mean, that seems to be just the overwhelming response. From the the average public, that it just seems to not be as popular. Do you feel like there's artists today that are trying to combine them a little bit more, like Glasper? Mm-hmm. Do you think that this is something jazz artists should be trying to do, trying to grab that short attention span?
No, I don't actually. I think that jazz artists should keep making the best music they can, and as sort of a response to the short attention span, a pushback, because I think that things will come back around. I think there'll be a time when people want things with more substance, and I think it's just it's I don't know, it's a culture, it's a progression that will happen. That it's a natural, every there's two sides to every coin. We leaned really far one way, so we're going to bounce back. I hope. Maybe not.
Right.
But no matter what, I think that people still need to keep making great art, and I don't think it needs to cater to short attention spans. It depends on what you want, of course, as an artist. But I don't think that art should suffer because of this shift.
I agree. Yeah. How do you feel about the lo-fi movement?
honestly, like, really don't know anything about it. I seriously don't. I've heard one of my students mention lo-fi, and I was like, I don't know what that is. What? I guess I could look it up.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's. I guess you could kind of explain it as like it's kind of a lot of the. I mean, the good stuff that's out there, the lo-fi. A lot of it is very very Glasper-esque. It's got a lot of jazz chords in there, but really maybe only 2 or 3 chords per section, and everything's degraded as far as sound quality goes, so it sounds like it's a really old track a lot of the times. Yeah, and it's got like a big hip hop element in there. But it's getting really popular, and it seems to be like a new movement within the jazz field. So I'm always asking any of our artists, how they feel about it.
Oh wow! No, I didn't realize that. Okay, all right. If you can not mention that as well.
I will not mention it. Yes, absolutely.
I'll have to. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard it, but maybe I didn't know what it was called. But yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard stuff like it.
Like anything, I'm sure it can be done well.
Yeah, definitely. So you did all the arranging on your album.
Yeah.
Do you have? First of all, I think another thing. One of the goals that we have for the blog is to try to get people who may not know a lot about jazz or know anything about jazz at all, give them an insight into what the genre is like, and pretty much just like the culture. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that arranging tends to be, at least in the jazz realm, something that is like in par with composition.
Yeah.
Right. That it's just as valued. It has its own skill sets. So, I mean, would you care to talk about how you go about arranging?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. So, yeah, in arranging, I think it's like a good simple way to think about it would be like making decisions about what every instrument is going to play, like specific decisions, versus just like writing chords on a page and telling people to comp in the style,
Right.
So that's the approach. I mean, and then within the idea of like what arranging could be, it can really make a song sound totally different than it originally did by changing elements about it, like even simple things like the tempo and the groove, and then writing specific parts, like I was saying, like writing a specific bass line or a specific piano part, or harmonizing the melody with horns, and in my case violin and bass clarinet. And like you said, it really can be an art in and of itself, making all those decisions about what gets played when.
Yeah. Would you say creatively, would you compare it on an equal level to composition?
I think it could be. Composition is different because you have to generate the source material, right? And in arranging, you have the source material already. But yeah, definitely it can be extremely high-level artistic endeavor, just like composition.
Which do you prefer?
I like doing both. I really enjoy both. When I compose for my band, I usually am arranging at the same time, actually. So I kind of do it all at once, which I don't know if everybody does it that way. But when I write for my band, I'm like writing a song specifically for them to play.
Yeah, with them in mind.
It could be played by, other instruments.
What was that? I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit.
I was going to say that some of the stuff I've written, like, I wouldn't play with a different set of instruments because it's just so specifically written for my band,
Right, yeah.
Which makes it hard, to go on tour if you can't bring the whole band.
Yeah. Does that tend to be an issue, getting everybody to be able to do it?
Well, mostly I can't, like, there's not enough funding to, like, bring my band. So when I have traveled, I go to places specifically where I know somebody that can help me put together a band. and I go there and rehearse the music with the people in that place, and then play it with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it can be really cool. Of course, I'd prefer to travel with my band, but, you know, at this point in my career, since, like, that's not possible, it's, you know, at least that's a way I've figured out how to travel and play my music.
Yeah. So how did you meet the current members of the group?
So, the violin player, Tomoko Omura, is somebody that I met back in 2009 in Boston. She also went to Berkeley, like you. And she and I were in a folk band together, actually, like that traveled quite a bit. We were, like, kind of in this little touring band, and she and I were both, like, the jazz musicians in the band that, you know, just got this folk gig. Actually, it's a really cool band, but we kind of bonded over being jazz musicians, and then I had some form of my band in Boston, and I, on a whim, kind of decided, like, oh, why don't, you know, maybe she should play instead of a horn. And then she did such a good job, and I love the texture so much that I was like, oh, yeah, this is what it should be. So she's been in my band since then.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And the bass clarinet player, alto sax player, also is a Boston connection. He went to NEC after me, but we have lots of friends in common. And he was just like a fan. He, like, a friend and a fan, like, came to all of my gigs, and I was just, you know, like, wow, it's so cool that you're always coming out. He's like, I just love the music. And then, so when the player that I had in the band before had to leave, I hired Michael Sachs because he was so into it, and, like, just an amazing player, because I already had bass clarinet and alto sax in the band, so.
Okay.
It was yeah, perfect. And then the rhythm section, Chris Siemba, Matt Aronoff, and Jeremy Miller, they were all people that I met on a session that one of my friends had put together. Just kind of like, you know, like we do, just you have a session at someone's house and people bring music or whatever. You read original music or you play standards. And maybe you know this, but maybe other people don't. Like, that's kind of how you end up meeting people to play with. You know, you just say, hey, you want to come to my house for a session? You might not know someone very well, and that's how you get to know them. And so I did several of those when I moved to New York. Well, I still do them sometimes, but at that point it was kind of like finding people to play in my band. And there was one session where all three of them were on it, and they just sounded great, and they're super nice, have amazing attitudes, and were really down to play the music how I wanted it. And then I got called for my first gig with my band in the city, and I was like, well, I'll just hire them because they played the session, and then I just kept it that way because it was perfect. So I was kind of lucky.
Yeah, they seem to mesh pretty well.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah,
and the whole band is very lucky.
Yeah, and the violin really adds like a unique texture.
Mhm. Yeah, she's an amazing improviser, and yeah.
Yeah, it's something you don't hear very often nowadays.
Yeah, not as much.
That's cool. So Lyle Mays was your uncle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yes, we all are mourning his recent loss. Did he have any specific influences that you did he end up introducing you to any other artists that you didn't already know at the time?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was, maybe you read that I said this somewhere, but he was like definitely a strong like mentor of mine.
Yeah.
When I was in college, he started calling me up and just talking. And he was known, like, I learned this even after since he passed, that anyone that was close to him would be like, oh, I just had these wonderful hours-long conversations with Lyle. So he was someone that I loved to talk on the phone, and just about everything with music and culture and history, and he had lots of interest. So we started talking all the way back then, and in a way it's like hard to remember because like my development as a musician was happening at the same time that I was talking to him all the time. But definitely, like, he showed me the importance of listening to classical music and studying classical composition. He was really a huge fan of Brahms, and also of Debussy and Ravel, and like the people that I mentioned earlier, actually, the influences. Of course, I learned about in school, but he kind of encouraged me to keep exploring. And he was also really into Brazilian music, and Egberto Gismonti, that composer that I mentioned, that piece I did karate with my record. Although he didn't introduce me to that piano player, I discovered him separately, and then found out later that Lyle was also into him. So yeah, I mean, really, I think for that, it was mostly like the classical people that Lyle encouraged me to listen to. And then let's see, Diane Reeves, that first singer I mentioned, he's the reason that I first heard about her. And then Billy Childs, this incredible pianist and composer out in LA, was a good friend of Lyle's, and he's someone that I was encouraged to listen to, that I was very influenced by. His writing too, his writing and arranging.
Yeah, Billy Childs.
Look up to. Yeah, he's so amazing. I actually recently had the opportunity to record a song for his next album, which is coming out in the fall.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's a huge honor.
Yeah. So what was it about Debussy and Ravel, like specifically about the Impressionists, that Lyle in particular was interested in, as far as like composition and arranging?
The harmonic choices, I think, would be the main thing. That they were very adventurous in that way. I don't know if we talked about arranging too much in terms of them.
Yeah.
But yeah. Just in general, like the sense of development throughout a piece. Yeah,
and I mean definitely the chord choices are definitely really adventurous for that era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was the main stuff.
Okay.
But, we talked a lot about conceptual things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily specific pieces. We often studied his music, actually. That's more of what we really worked on together. We'd take one of his pieces, and I would have to listen to it and make as many notes as I could about it, and then discuss it. And he'd tell me about his compositional ideas and all that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It really shaped the way that I think about writing.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm sorry. I'm looking through my notes. Bobby McFerrin.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like recording with him?
So the recording that I did he wasn't there. It was yeah. I have met him though. He did a guest artist thing at my undergrad as well, and that was a really cool experience. He also knew my uncle, and they were friends, and they collaborated on a live concert at Carnegie Hall at some point. But yeah, so that experience was really cool. I got to work with the arranger of that whole project, named Roger Treese.
Yeah.
And yeah, he did all the recording at his own studio. At the time, he lived in New York, and I took a bus from Boston and came to do some overdubs of some soprano parts on the pieces I was on, because they needed someone who could sing really light and high, free sounding, and that's my thing, kind of. So
right, yeah.
To do that. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. Yeah, but it was really just me and the arranger in the studio, because there's 50 different singers on that project, and it was recorded and mixed over the course of I think 8 years.
Oh wow!
It was really, yeah, it's really really complex and beautiful project. I don't know if you've heard it, but definitely worth listening to.
Yeah, I've heard it before. It is very impressive.
Yeah, so gorgeous.
That's amazing. Nice. So, Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, you were encouraged to transcribe Louis Armstrong in NEC, right?
That's right. I was.
Yeah. What did you learn from him?
Let's see. Swing feel. Phrasing. development of ideas in improvisation, like rhythmic ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to explore him, understand his importance in everything. And I think people should study, early jazz more often. That was one of the great things about NEC. A lot of jazz curriculums, even though they're great, they just kind of skip over the early stuff. But
yeah, I noticed they tend to mainly focus on the bebop and post bebop.
Yeah, it's easier to teach. It has concrete ideas, which are you can write about and practice those licks and all that. But it's definitely important to explore the earlier stuff, especially like the early blues singers too. I had to do some imitation of those singers in one of my classes, and just record myself singing as close to as I could to like Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and that was an awesome experience. Love doing that, and it really informed. And it helped me get a better foundation, like the blues, which is the roots of jazz, obviously. So it's important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you have to try to copy like Billie Holiday's? Because she had a very interesting texture to her voice.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever was assigned to do that, but I have done that for sure. Yeah, and that's a big thing that I make all my students do. It's like the best way you can study anything is to just try to copy it. Even if you can't get anywhere close to that person's sound because of how your voice sounds, you can still get somewhere you wouldn't probably go by yourself, and that's what's important, is discovering those different aspects of your own voice through study of others.
Yeah, but I agree. What did Stravinsky, he said, good composers borrow, but great composers steal.
Yeah, yes. And my uncle was a big fan of that quote as well, actually.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. So let me take a look. Talking about harmony, and how you use harmony within your pieces, compositionally and improvisationally. If we start with the improvisation, would you say, as a vocalist, do you how did you develop your improv style?
Let's see. Well, like we were just talking about, definitely studied the bebop tradition in school, and the singers were right along with the instrumentalists, and we had teachers with very high standards, I'll say, and it was really a difficult thing, but really fun. And of course, transcribing is obviously important to anyone to learning how to improvise, and I did a lot of that. And for me, since I play piano, I try to play as much of it as I can on the piano as well, to it's like it helps train your ears to have some kind of tangible foundation you can reference on an instrument.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of it. And then some of it is just I don't know, sort of, walking around the house and just singing to myself, having like a freedom of exploring where my voice and my ears want to go.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of it.
So when we were speaking to Leela, she had, or Layla, she had mentioned that she really finds it difficult to relate her soloing ideas to her instrument. She feels a lot more comfortable vocally, and that she said even if she was trying to work out her own tune, she would have to, if she had to go to the piano to work it out, it would take her a long time to figure out what she wanted it to sound like, but she could hear it in her head a lot nicer. So she really uses, claims that she uses her depends on her ears more, but she doesn't really have the keyboarding experience that you do. Would you say that just having that, not basic, but just that idea of the keyboard, is that how you're thinking of these notes, or are you kind of hearing them in your head when you're soloing?
It's definitely both.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think certain times it's one or the other. I'm thinking more theoretically or going more ear wise. But yeah, I'm the same. Like, it's definitely, like, compositionally, I definitely have the facility, and arranging wise to, like, really use the piano to my advantage. But I'm not like a great soloist on the piano. It's much easier for me to sing the stuff. It's very, I can't translate it, super directly all the time. But I did kind of mean, like, if I was working on it like a bebop lick, I could play it up to tempo on the piano, and that really helped me learn it, be able to sing it, having that to sing along with.
Yeah, that's interesting. For an instrumentalist, it's just so mind-boggling for somebody to be able to, first of all, hear any of those interesting tensions, on the fly like that. It's impressive.
It takes a lot of work, we just have to work on it in a different way. Yeah. Some people have it really naturally, but most of us have to work on it a lot.
Yeah. So, would you feel that there are any artists today that are pushing the boundaries within jazz, like trying to maybe like attempt at a new audience for the style?
Attempt at a new audience. Yes, I think people are pushing boundaries. But something I was going to say earlier, which is like when we were talking about, like, should jazz musicians try to cater to the short attention span, I was going to say that, like, it seems like there's more good, amazing music coming out now than there ever has been. Or maybe it's more possible now, because of people's home recording setups and, all of that. But yeah, the stuff that's coming out is just, like, mind-blowingly incredible. Like, there's so much of it that's so good, I can't even keep track of it. So yeah, there's definitely people pushing the boundaries all the time. Now, I don't know about, like, going for a new audience. Maybe it's just, like, a natural progression. Like, there's a lot of people that are jazz trained that end up, like, doing more of, like, a singer-songwriter thing or, like, a pop thing. But the stuff they do is so well informed by complex harmonic and rhythmic concepts that, they're kind of developing a new hybrid genre, it seems. So maybe that is what you're asking about. But,
yeah, that is.
Like musicians like Lake Street Dive. Do you know that band?
I do, yeah.
So they went to NEC at the same time as me, actually. They're all actually a little bit earlier. And they're all amazing jazz musicians. And they used those skills, that sensibility, to make, like, incredible pop music.
Right, very soulful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's, have you heard of Michael Mayo?
No, Michael Mayo.
So you should check him out. Like, that's the first thing you should do when we hang up. Just kidding. No, but he's amazing. He also went to NEC, and he's a jazz singer for sure. And his new album is coming out in the fall, his debut album. But it's definitely not like a pop album, but it has a lot of pop elements. But the complexity of what he does is just insane. So it's kind of what I was saying, combining all of that amazing training with, I don't know, modern pop sensibility.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, he's doing that. Let's see, who else? I don't know, in that realm. Well, there's the band, like, Nowhere. I don't know if you know that band.
Nowhere?
Yeah.
No.
It's a duo, Genevieve Artadi and Louis Cole, and it's the same story. Jazz people and making crazy, complicated pop music. I don't know if I'd call it pop, but,
Yeah.
Like Kneebody. Do you know the band Kneebody?
No, I've never heard of these people.
I put them in that realm, too.
All right, nice. We'll have to check those out.
Mm-hmm.
What about Jacob Collier?
Oh, I love Jacob Collier.
Yeah,
he's definitely, I could have mentioned him on that list for sure. I think he's like a once-in-a-century genius that we just get to be alive at the same time as.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's a master of, like, I don't know, 7 instruments or something. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
How good he is, yeah.
Okay. What about just within the pop realm? Any artists that you're severely respecting for pushing it forward? You mentioned Ariana, Beyonce. Any others that maybe people haven't heard of?
Oh, man. I don't really listen to a lot of that stuff. I mean, I should check it out more. Yeah. I mean, do you know the artist Yebba? You probably have heard of her.
I'm sorry, what was that?
There's an artist named Yebba.
Yebba.
Yeah, it's Abby backwards. Yeah, her name is, she goes by Yebba. Her stuff is really beautiful. I wouldn't say like, oh, it's really pushing the boundaries, but I like her writing a lot. And beautiful voice, really interesting. Yeah, she's getting really popular, I think. I mean, Snarky Puppy that's not really pop, but I don't know. Yeah. Guess I'm too much of a jazz person. I should listen to more of that stuff. Yeah,
well, no, it's great. I mean, you have a lot more than a lot of the other artists that I've interviewed so far.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy from Spyro Gyra, he said no to that question. just flat out no. Like he didn't feel there was anybody pushing the boundaries. Everyone's, No
boundaries. Right. Inside the box.
Yeah, but that's interesting. We'll have to check some of those people out. Mm-hmm. So, you have any tour dates coming up soon?
No.
No tour dates.
No gigs. Because all gigs have been canceled. I was supposed to be in Europe for 2 weeks in April. That has been canceled.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have, my CD release show was supposed to be March 20th, and it's been rescheduled for September 18th, so that is hopefully going to happen.
Yeah, hopefully.
On September 18th at Rockwood, yeah. Yeah, but right now I think people are kind of not scheduling stuff, as far as I know, because, at least for in my wherever level I am at, I'm not being scheduled right now, because who knows what's happening in the summer, even. I was supposed to go to Portugal. There was a band I worked with there last year, and we were going to do something this summer again, but I don't think that's happening. So, yeah, it's a weird time.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Although I'm doing a streaming concert on April 7th.
Ah, April 7th.
Yes. And it will be on Facebook and Instagram, and it's just going to be me playing piano and singing, which is something I don't usually do for audiences, but that I'm doing now because of the current situation. So. Yeah,
that's so you're going to be accompanying yourself, you mean?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So that actually that brings up a lot of distinct and different challenges when performing. Like, could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So like I mentioned a lot of times, I've been playing the piano my whole life and always singing along with it. So that's something I've been practicing for a very long time. I wouldn't say that, I haven't developed my piano skills in the way that I've developed my voice. Like when I finished high school, I kind of decided to be a singer. And so I still play piano, and I play it a lot for my students, especially accompanying my lessons. For me, the challenge, if I want to keep doing this, would be to develop my piano playing to be more than just like accompanying the voice, because what I play is very like, it's, I play good time, and it's like the average person would hear it and be like, oh yeah, you're a piano player, cool.
Right.
But in terms of like the complexity of the jazz people I know, like, I'm nowhere near that. And also like, I don't really solo on the piano, like I said, so that's some stuff I would want to develop. But right now for for next week's concert, I feel pretty comfortable, getting around the instrument and singing at the same time. It's clear that like the showcase is my voice, and, the piano is just there to accompany, but yeah, not too hard, but.
Well, I definitely look forward to seeing how you develop that. It's an interesting prospect. I don't think I've really heard anybody else try to incorporate like the piano as a equal, when they're singing at the same time. I can't.
Yeah, it's the people that do it really well.
Yeah.
Like Shirley Horn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's. God, so amazing. And speaking of Brazilian artists, Tania Maria was an amazing pianist and singer. That could really accompany. Yeah, that's something totally different than what I'm able to do right now. But
yeah,
hey, maybe that's what this whole situation will inspire.
Yeah, you gotta make lemonade.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So do you have any advice for upcoming or let's say any of your students that may be graduating soon and trying to make it in the jazz realm?
Yeah, let's see. Try to be as versatile as possible while still being true to yourself as an artist, I would say.
Yeah.
I think, and I hear this from classical singers too, that like you can't really just do one thing anymore.
Right.
Which I really don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because I've always been one, because I don't think it's bad to study other styles, and I don't know. I don't think it's selling out. I think it only like informs who you are as a musician even more when you dive deeper into other things that kind of help you discover yourself more. So I think that would be it. But also, like, on the other hand, just to keep staying true to yourself, to really make the music that you believe in, and just keep going. You know, I think that was something that was hard for me when I moved to New York. I had kind of gotten down about my music when I was in Boston and thought that I shouldn't have a band and I shouldn't be writing because I wasn't sure that I was cut out to do it. And then I finally found the right people to play the music, I was like, oh, I should write.
Yeah.
Like, you got to find the right band that you gel with, you know.
Yeah, so, that's actually it's actually something I've heard a lot of from people, especially people who went to school in Boston. Which is funny enough that when they graduate, they feel like, oh, you know, well, who am I? I don't. It's almost like a loss of confidence.
Yeah. Oh, that totally happened to me. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it happening to me. Why do you think that is?
I think it's like you're gaining greater perspective about what the world is like. You know, like when you're in school, you're in such an insulated environment, and you only have a certain number of people to compare yourself to, and then when you go out into the world, you lose the structure and you lose the small environment, and suddenly, you know, you realize like, oh, I'm out here with everybody and I have to somehow, you know, make a name for myself or have a sound that's worth listening to. It can feel really daunting.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I really feel like I came out on the other side of that, even though it took me a long time. Yeah,
it definitely takes a long time to get over that.
Yeah, really long time.
I mean, we always end our any of the interviews with a last question, which is what's your favorite jazz album of all time?
Oh wow. That has to be the hardest question ever. Okay, I need to think for a second.
Yeah, take all the time.
I mean, I kind of want to name a not a jazz album. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can I do that? Does
absolutely.
It have to be jazz?
Absolutely.
I mean, really, like, yeah, I think it's true. Like, when you said that, like, an album came to me, and it's Joni Mitchell, Blue. That iconic album of hers that everyone should know, at least.
Yeah. Joni Mitchell.
I think that's my favorite album of all time. I think it is.
Wow.
Even though there's so much that I love, and I could name, like, Pat Metheny Group albums would be right up there, too. Yeah. I think I'll say Joni Mitchell, Blue.
Yeah, definitely. That's the first non-jazz album we've gotten.
Is that okay?
No, I think that's great.
For a jazz album?
Yeah, because I mean, I think that's even more revealing into your how you are as a musician, really.
Yeah, because I mean, Joni Mitchell was like, she was transcendent, and she did a lot of jazz, worked with jazz musicians, so her writing is not like a typical folk singer.
No, so, definitely unique.
Yeah. So So.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like our audience to know?
I don't think so. I just encourage people to check out the Pat Metheny group.
Yeah.
Check out my uncle's writing. Yeah, because it's it's a gift to give yourself because it's that wonderful to explore. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Did you ever get to meet him?
Pat Metheny?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him a couple times. And we've been in touch since my uncle's passing. Very lovely person.
Yeah. I recently went to a master's class with Schofield.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and
where was that?
He actually did it at University of Hartford.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was like a month ago, but he had he was talking about Pat Metheny when because Pat had started when Schofield was studying there, and they would jam out a lot and stuff. But
whoa, that's so cool.
he said Gary Burton, who was teaching at the time, would go over their apartment at during rush hour, so he didn't have to drive home because he lived in in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And he said that one day Gary just came up to Schofield. He's like, "Hey man, there's this like 16-year-old that just started going to the school, and he's already better than you."
Yes. That's great. That's pretty cool.
And John's just like, "Oh, all right."
Wow, that's awesome.
That's pretty funny.
So you're in Hartford then?
Yeah, I'm in the Hartford area. We actually live in Farmington. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's about 10 or 15 minutes out from Hartford.
Oh, okay, cool. I have one of my best friends is from West Hartford.
Oh, okay.
She's a jazz singer too. Allegra Levy. Do you know her?
Oh, what's her name?
Allegra Levy.
Allegra Levy. No.
Yeah, she's a West Hartford native that lives in New York.
Oh, nice. Yeah. West Hartford actually borders Farmington, so it's right next to us.
Cool.
Yeah, and now Leia is living close to here too, which is pretty funny.
I know. I miss her. Yeah. I was just texting with her like a couple days ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm really thankful for this chance to get to interview you.
Well, same here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. If you ever, we're definitely going to share that digital concert that you're going to do. But if you ever, after this Corona stuff, if you're ever touring in Connecticut, we would love to come and see you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I will definitely let you guys know.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
And, stay healthy. Safe.
All right. Absolutely.
All right.
Have a good one.
Day.
Bye.
Bye.